Hello, this is Justin with Between the Studs, and I have an extra super special video vlog for you guys today. I am super stoked, I'm super excited. Chris is super stoked and super excited, and who's this guy? I don't know.
I mean, he needs a haircut.
He's super stoked and he's super excited. We're bringing you something that only the Atlanta Brick Co. can bring you. We have today with us, our guest is an actual prop fabricator with Marvel Studios. And not only is he that, but he's also one of my good friends. Please welcome Seth.
Thank you. Yes, actually, that's how I put on my business card. Is Justin's best friend. Is how
you should the whole thing, right?
Yeah. There's nothing, no information on it whatsoever. Just that.
That's all they need to know.
That's all. But
I have known this guy since middle school. We roomed together in college. We were in the karate club all the way through college. I worked with him some over the summer in the props studio where he works. Now, couple of ground rules though, because of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, he can't talk too much about all of the things he works on, especially current projects.
Yes. Anything going on now, like on Disney Plus or any of that stuff,
it doesn't exist. Yes. We won't even talk about it. Chris is here as the super ultra mega Marvel fan and to give us a Lego perspective of a lot of the sets. So, thank you so much for coming.
Not a problem. I feel honored that you want me, and I want to just let the audience know. The camera has been known to add 10 pounds, and I think there's 4 of them on me right now, so we'll just go with that.
No, you look great. You look great.
Thanks.
Tell us first how you even got into this industry. How did you even start?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that I didn't get my start in art. I was always pretty talented. I was always That sounds like I'm just talking. Thank you. Yeah. I could always draw, but I never did anything with it. I used to be a marine biologist, actually, of all things. I was a scientist and animal behavioralist. And then when the economy went in the tubes in the late 2010s era, I decided I was going to go back to school, and I got my master's in graphic arts. And then the month that I graduated, I didn't have anything lined up, and so of all people, this doesn't sound like nepotism, but my dad called me and said he knew some guy that worked at the studio and he was doing some work for him, and he's like, can I give him your number? I said, yeah. And so he called me that day. I had a week-long interview, basically, just to see what they could do personality if I jive with other people, and by Wednesday he was sold, and I've been doing it ever since. That was in 2014, I think, somewhere right around there. So,
and a lot of people, I think, already know this, but a lot of movie industry and TV shows are moving to Atlanta and Georgia.
This is the time to do it, man. Like, a lot of the people I work with are transplants from California. They followed the industry, and now they sold their homes back there and have permanent residence here, and this is where it's going to be for quite a while.
I know you do so many things and you have to be responsible for figuring out and knowing so many things, but the short answer, as a prop fabricator, what do you do?
A little bit of everything. The way I put it is I'm a jack of all trades but master of none. Basically, the way it starts as a fabricator, I either get concept art from illustrators or I draw my own concept art. Once that goes through the approval process, then we have a meeting on how we're going to make it sometimes, and then from there I'm just left wide open and go make it. A lot of times it's like, here's a piece of paper with a picture on it, go do that. But
make this thing real.
Yeah, and what I found, illustrators are not engineers. So they'll draw.
I know exactly.
I am exactly like this too. But now I draw it in the way that I have an idea how I'm going to make it. But illustrators, they'll just draw it and it looks cool. It looks awesome, but you can't practically make that.
That can't physically exist.
No,
it's like an Escher painting.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there was one project that I had to do where it was cap shields for Infinity War. And the artwork was beautiful, it was awesome, it looked great, but the handle was free floating in midair. It's like that. Well, I got to figure out how to attach that, and there's no rivets in it, so I had to figure out. So there's a lot of figuring things out. But I've been doing it long enough now that I've kind of built reserves on how. Now I look at something and it's like, oh, that's how I would do it. Or when I draw my own concept art, and I draw it with the idea that I'm making this one, and I want to make it as easy as possible for myself. Yeah, because the name of the game in the industry is make it fast and make it quick. We need it by yesterday.
So a lot of background in art, but also practical machining skills.
Yeah, I was a carpenter for a while. I'm a 5th generation carpenter actually. And so I use those skills plus lots of art, a lot of actually computer work too. My shop has general saws and cutting stuff, but I also have like 3D printers and stuff, so I kind of run the gambit on that.
Chris, tell us about your love, your connection with Marvel Comics and why you like the movies so much.
Well, Marvel definitely came before Lego. And I was a big fan of comic books, big comic book collector, even to the point where when I was a kid, I had 2 older brothers, and my parents would actually have us set up at comic book shows so we could sell our comic books sometimes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
that was a lot of fun for a kid. We would sell a bunch and buy a bunch more.
That's awesome.
I was
Clear
never
them out.
actually making money, selling comic books, but I was getting a lot.
Yeah.
It was a fun time to be in the comics because it's the 1980s. You've got all your classic themes, and then it started getting into the 90s where you had a lot of crazy stuff going on.
The edgier
Deadpool,
stuff and-
New Mutants, the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man, Rob Liefeld Spider-Man, and then of course on the DC side you had the death of Batman, the death of Superman.
A lot of Frank Miller stuff.
Of course those comics aren't worth anything now. The ones from the early 90s, except Deadpool. Deadpool's up there. The first appearance of Deadpool was New Mutants.
Oh, okay.
I just sold a issue of that to a friend of mine recently.
Can you tell us for how much?
I gave him a deal. It was about $200.
Okay.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
How good condition was that?
It was very good condition.
Very good.
Yeah, it was the first appearance of Deadpool was also the first appearance of Gideon and Domino, who were minor characters, but not too minor.
Yeah.
And Domino was
People
in
knew who they
Deadpool
are.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting it. He had the metal arms and was immortal
Yeah, he was
or
cool.
something. Yeah, he was a cool guy.
That's cool of him.
We have the experts and their expertise laid out. What we're doing today is we're not going to just take you through Marvel sets. Here, look what we have, like we've done before. We're actually going to compare the Legofication with what he actually made in his shop.
Before we start, I will say with all the minifigures, there's quite a few in here that I had nothing. I didn't work on those.
We can still talk about it.
Yeah, we can still talk
We
about
can
it.
still talk about it. You're actually a big comic book fan yourself, and
Yes.
working with Marvel Studios has made it even to the nth degree.
No, I'm a complete comic book nerd. Like Chris, I had my comic books, and I was a huge Spider-Man fan, Captain America fan, and the way I learned how to really solidify my ability to draw is I would draw my comic books. I would go through a page and find like the coolest looking thing, and I would draw that. I did that from the time I could read until probably 15, 16 to college. For me, this is like anytime I get to be on set or whatever, I'm nerding out completely because there's Spider-Man, Captain America. And there are other people that have been in the business for a little bit longer, and they're like, yeah, it's just another movie.
Yeah.
I'm over here like, it's like, I'm so excited.
They're hardened, grizzled professionals.
Yeah.
It's another job. Well, he's right here. Let's talk about Ant-Man. All right, so this is actually Giant Man, right?
Yeah. This is the superhero airport battle set.
Can I say the number?
Sure.
It's number 76051.
Yay!
I
That
can
was
read
so
numbers.
good.
Now, I brought this set because I thought that was the Atlanta airport. And I was like, oh, we're in Atlanta, so we can talk about this set that was filmed here down the road from our store. And Seth corrected me in a good way. And it's now even more relatable.
Yeah, the whole airport scene, most of it was filmed in the back lot. And which is basically a giant, not there anymore, but it was a giant concrete slab that they surrounded the perimeter. They stacked tractor trailers, and then it was all green screen. So a lot of that portion was just purely green screen. And that was also filmed here in Georgia in August. And what I remember most about it was at least 115 degrees up. It just held that heat. I didn't want to spend a lot of time there. It was basically weird. So I would just go drop off what I needed to or pick up when I needed to. And I'm like, see ya, I'm going back to air conditioning, So it was amazing to see because you just walk in and it's like stacked to the vine. So.
I remember when you first started working as a prop fabricator, you said you would be on set and you would turn a corner and it was just snow. in the middle of summer.
This was the first movie I actually worked on, and that's the scene is. I guess we can. The movie's old enough now. You know the end where.
Yeah, spoiler alert if you haven't seen anything.
Where Zemo, where Black Panther and Zemo are having that interaction, and then he stops the bullet. That foam, it was a snow scene that was here, and it was just another set. It was just another. It was like I walked down, and then here's the snow. It looks like the mountains.
It looked like Siberia.
Yeah, it was like how there. I will say there were some extremely talented people in this industry. Like a lot of the crew, and the celebrities deserve a lot of praise as well. But the crew and the time and effort that these like crafters, like they're artists. From sets to the smallest detail it's not overlooked, and it's. Yeah, I'm always amazed with what other departments and stuff can do.
You said that airport in the background was green screen.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
Yeah, again, this VFX and the CGI masters. You can't tell. You can't tell at all. And there's just that level of talent.
Well, the Hela minifigure is so cool looking with those big horned helmets and stuff. And we knew, seeing her do her hair, how it turned into it. Yeah, there was CG involved. But he was telling us the physical helmet never existed. Not once, ever in the physical world. So we ended up not bringing that figure at all.
Yeah, a lot. It's amazing what's called practical versus CGI. And a lot of stuff is done practically, and then a lot of stuff is not.
Yeah. So actually, a story you told me that's the opposite. What was the story when they were looking at pictures of the Iron Man suit? They were like, "Oh, that looks fake. That CGI is terrible," and you guys were like, "That's real."
No, that was real. That was he's been in the pajama. What we call it the pajamas, but the CGI mocap suits since Iron Man 2. But they definitely built like the Iron Man suits.
In Iron Man 1, it was him in the suit.
Well, it was a stuntman was in the suit, but I didn't have anything to do with that. I just happened to know that bit of trivia and such. The original Mark 1.
We do have the Mark 1 minifigure here.
It's a little smaller in person than I thought. It's a little bit bigger in real life, but that's definitely the Mark 1 helmet. That's impressive. The detail.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they do a lot on that. Now they could do more. They've done minifigures with printing on the arms and on their back of their legs, but
those are the elite ones.
Those are the Star Wars ones.
You did work on the Ant-Man helmet at all, or did you?
Not this version. The one you see in Infinity War. A couple of us built the one that you just not in Infinity War, Endgame, excuse me, where they go back in time in the 1970s with Pym. And you see it that's the one with the classic Jack Kirby helmet. I helped with this as well. We had a professional metalworker that really did a great job as well. Another talented person.
Now, full disclosure on this Ant-Man Lego helmet, it is not made by Lego. Lego did not do the classic helmet. That is a
very high quality.
Very high quality.
Wow, that is
helmet.
impressive.
And I think we found that in a collection. That
Yeah, it was just in a random collection.
Yeah, didn't you pick it out?
Yes,
we got in a shoebox full of minifigures.
I was sorting through minifigures and found it.
Did you know that was not, they'd never made that?
I wasn't 100% sure. No, I knew what it was. I knew right away it was the old Ant-Man. But I wasn't sure that wasn't Lego.
While we're on Ant-Man, here is the Ant-Man, the miniature.
Oh my gosh!
Have you seen these?
No.
So
what is that?
That's called a nanofig. So they typically use them. It first came out for trophies, right? Wasn't it the CMF karate guy?
Okay.
Was that the first appearance?
Where did that first come out? It first came out, I believe it was Jack Sparrow, the voodoo doll.
Oh,
yeah,
even before the CMF.
Yeah, it was in the Queen Anne's Revenge.
So they use them for trophies and stuff like that. They've also used them for game pieces, but now they have shrunken down sets of very large in nanoscale. Mm-hmm. Like they have the Hogwarts Castle. It's this big, but the figures that come in it are these.
So they're just really small parts that you can lose easily.
Yes. Yeah.
I call them statuettes.
That's a nanofig of the.
Ant-Man.
That's the what do you call that suit? The quantum leap suit.
Quantum realm.
The quantum realm. Yes. Quantum leap is a little earlier on.
The Lego sets give you. They're so small, and they want to make sure you get it. That they always give you two to make sure you got.
Really?
You got at least one. Yeah. But these little suckers still go for like $5 each.
Yeah,
that's a lot for a little thing like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when you get an extra one in every set.
Replace-
What, as far as Ant-Man goes, have you worked on or gotten to see or touch or feel?
I started right after they finished filming the first Ant-Man film, and then I was on Infinity War and Endgame when they were filming Ant-Man and the Wasp. I didn't get a lot of time with that. I saw Paul Rudd a couple times, like in the jail scene in the Arc in Civil War, and a couple times in Endgame. But as for Ant-Man, that was already really well established stuff. So
I was here. He cracks people up
Oh, yeah.
in the outtakes and stuff.
oh yeah, you can see it in the outtakes for Civil War.
Well, we could go back to Iron Man. There's plenty to talk about.
Yes.
We had to label, so we have a lot of Iron Man minifigures with us, and is it Iron Men? If there's more than
Iron Man's.
Man's,
I
I guess.
Man's?
I think it would because
All right.
it's the same person.
Well,
I don't know.
There's so many Iron Man suits, and I don't know who could actually look at one.
Oh, do you want to quiz
Tell
that?
you.
Okay,
Here it comes. Here
now.
it comes. All right.
Do you have is there a mini figure for the Endgame or Infinity War with the nanotech suit? Does that one exist? Is that what you have? That is what you have there. Okay.
What mark is that?
This is for Endgame. I mean Infinity War. That's the first nanotech one. So that I want to say it's somewhere in the 80s. No, I'm wrong. I don't know. I cannot keep track of it. So it's not Mark 1. I know that.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You got it. It's not Mark 1.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark 50.
50. Okay.
And I wouldn't have known that.
But- But he did
No
know
idea.
where it was from. He
Yeah.
recognized that it was the first nanotech one.
Yes.
What are some giveaways there on the suit?
With first of all, the triangular shape arc reactor. Technically, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It actually has 5 sides because it's not a perfect triangle.
Oh, okay.
But I will say the arc reactors are always practical. We make some that are light up,
Meaning it's not CG.
Yes,
To
yeah,
just
yeah.
Clarify.
Yes, it's not. Well,
It
of course,
actually works.
when he does this and double taps it, that's obviously very CG. But he has specialized harness that will hold the
A light.
hold the light, and it's all in a. Now it's on remote, so we just put it and turn it on, and when they film it, and when you don't, turn it off. All of those throughout every movie, for the most part that I know,
Practical
have all
lighting.
been practical. From the first one in the cave all the way up to that one.
Here's the Tony Stark minifigure. He's got the arc reactor under his shirt.
Yes, that's the triangular one. That's the first triangular one. So that's Iron Man 2, because he makes the new element, and that's when it becomes triangular. So I think that's the one for 3.
You're right. It is 3. It's from the Malibu Mansion set.
So you've met Robert Downey Jr. in person. How's that likeness?
Well, he is slightly taller in real life, I will say, and I will say he does have elbow joints and knee joints. So, but
How about skin tone?
yeah,
White flesh?
there's definitely a face on there with a goatee. So
That's more.
the smarmy
The
kind of.
smirk.
Yes.
The smirk. Now you see Robert.
Now
Downey
it's
Jr.
a spitting image. Yeah, it's right there.
Do you think that would have been CGI as far as the arc reactor being under his t-shirt?
No, it's
like that. That was.
Oh, yeah.
that one.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep.
All
Right.
I guess because lighting that subtle is really hard to do in CG and have it consistent. So
They're super talented people that I would think, but I think what they look at is cost effectiveness.
Mhm.
It's a lot cheaper to just build one than spend hours upon hours and hours in CGI.
CG.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while we're talking triangular arc reactors, would you like to guess the movie?
The end of Iron Man 2. That's the triangular one, right?
So it could look like that, but that is the minifigure from the first Avengers movie,
Oh, okay.
2012.
2012. Oh yeah, the Battle
6.
Arc 6.
Mark 6.
Mark 6. Yeah, the Battle of New York.
Now, some of these Iron Mans have the blue face tone.
So it is
and
Iron
some
Man.
of them Iron Mans.
Iron Man.
Menses.
I think we need, when we finish filming this, we're going to put a compilation together of this. I was trying to figure
Just
it out.
Google it, and whatever comes up first.
What would you
It's
say?
gonna be.
All the Batmans or Batmans?
Well, there's several people who have been Batman, so it's not always been Bruce Wayne. So that's the nerdy answer for you. Take that.
And Justin's like, what? What are you talking about?
Like, I think I saw your head explode. Yeah. I see a minifigure. Let's pass that rocket over.
Wait, we still have like 50 more Iron Men to go.
How many Iron Mans did have Lego made? I know you don't know a
That's a
specific
good question, but I can tell you what we
What would
got
be a
here.
guess?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 24.
Wow.
Is
Is
you
it a
guess?
guess? That's a guess.
And some of them are subtly different.
Oh,
But they try to be very accurate to what's on screen.
I mean, I'm really impressed with how well the chess pieces and such, but I haven't really played Legos since like the late mid-90s, maybe.
It's
a-
Lego. The plural form of Lego is Lego, not Legos.
Okay.
I have to say that. I have to say
Legally by Lego, we have to
Really?
say that.
we do, yeah.
The
We
plural
got-
Lego is Lego.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, we got a legal
You
document.
noob!
Yeah.
When we opened the store, Lego sent us a legal document that said when you're referring to Lego in the plural form, you have to say Lego, not Legos.
Interesting.
They're very persnickety about that.
Well, I mean, it's Lego.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, so.
This is one of my favorite costumes.
This is where they changed the helmet, right?
Armor.
Or the actual
If you
minifig.
want to take a
helmet.
guess, it is kind of unique looking when you compare it to the other figures.
Is that the one where the suitcase armor from Iron Man 2?
It's the Heartbreaker Armor
The Heartbreaker.
from, I think it was Iron Man 3, and I think it was what Pepper Potts wore.
Oh, yeah, that's the one he could shoot off and control and, yeah. Oh, it opens up. Neat.
Just like the real thing, right?
Pretty close.
Have you ever put on a real Iron Man helmet?
I have not, actually.
Okay.
I have.
Do you think it would fit your head?
I have a huge, obnoxiously large head, so probably not. We say it in my house that I have a Henderson head. Not as big as Nathan's, but it's there. Yes, on a podcast, I'm gonna throw him under the bus. So.
We have to. We have. What are brothers for?
Yeah, exactly.
This is the Invincible Iron Man.
Oh yeah, that's from the
So
comics. Yeah,
it's totally not in the MCU. It's from the comics.
Yep.
It's bright red, very
Oh.
classic.
all new, all different.
How do you like that? Being
I
a
like-
comic book fan.
I like this. I've actually for practice 3D modeled this helmet. I think it's a sharp looking. I really like it.
In fact, Lego calls him the Invincible Iron Man after the comic.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Do they have a Ironheart figure yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
'Cause I really like that storyline with Riri Williams and such. It was such a cool take on the Iron Man.
This is an interesting Iron Man right here. And I guess we're just going to go through the Iron Man.
Yeah, that's what we're doing now. That's the strap in, people. That's what we're doing now.
I like the part where they talk about Iron Man figures for 20 minutes. Oh, what?
You don't know our
Well,
audience.
that's a suit of armor.
This is his AI version from the comic books.
Yes. That's from Homecoming.
Oh, because
That's
he wasn't.
47.
Yes. Yep.
Because he wasn't wearing it.
Yeah,
so-
the first time when he saved Peter.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I'm
what?
really bad at
The others look all very similar. I would say, in my opinion, here's one of the more unique ones. And can you tell what makes him look unique?
It's a circular arc reactor.
Yeah.
Look at the gold printing on that one too.
Yeah, that's really nice.
So much gold that his hands are gold.
Yeah.
Not a lot of the Iron Men had the gold hands. And again, that's a lot of they're just suits in the Hall of Armor. So
There was a set where it has a hall of armor.
Yeah.
So
that you got to see got blown up and
that's Mark 42 from Iron Man 3.
that's what I was thinking was Iron Man 3.
You knew it was Mark 42 too, right?
Of course.
You have
Yes, it's all up
upon
there.
sight.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Well, when we think of Iron Man, we think of the black Iron Man and the gray Iron Man.
Oh, War Machines.
Yes, War Machines. Do
Yeah,
you have any experience working with War Machine?
Not directly. I had the pleasure of talking to Don Cheadle once, but who is a phenomenal person.
From which of his 1,000 movies?
Endgame. Sorry, Endgame.
He's
But
always that guy. He's in like every movie.
But that's really neat that they had to do the shoulder cannon Gatling gun kind of thing that he typically has. Yeah, I was a big fan of War Machine as well.
Was that gun on his shoulder a real thing?
So this is where you get blur the line between props and costumes because we work hand in hand a lot with them. The way you think of it is a prop is something that has an action typically. Something it moves, it blows up, shoots, whatever. I didn't work on Iron Man 2. The shoulder guns and such, those were practical. They didn't shoot, but they were there because it had an action. Case in point would be like Star Wars helmet and Guardians 2. It breaks. That's an action. So it became a now that's not across the board because we still handle things like rings and watches and iPads and phones and.
You told me for whatever reason, long-standing movie history, sunglasses are considered props and not costume.
Yes.
And no one can explain to you why.
Because
tradition.
But there's another tradition is we're responsible for everybody's chairs. I've only worked on set for one movie. I'm an outside vendor, so I don't. I'll go and deliver, but for the most or fix. But only one film did I actually work on set. We're responsible for chairs. All those directors' chairs, all the actors' chairs, all the whoever's going to be there for that day. We're responsible for picking them up, putting them out, placing them out where they need them, and then picking them up when we're done for the day. And we have a chair trolley that's just full of director's chairs. And
that's across the board, any Hollywood production, anything.
For the most, that's
the tradition.
That's
is
the tradition.
Props does everyone chairs too.
Yeah.
Do the chairs have people's names on the back?
Yes.
Ooh, that's cool.
Every single show that I've worked on, at least the chair they're called chairbacks. Mm-hmm. And on one side I'll have the actor's name or the character they're playing, and then on the back of it they'll have the production, whatever it may be. There was actually a crew gift from Infinity War and Endgame where Robert Downey gifted everybody a director's chair that was part of the crew or helped out or whatever. So I actually have a chair with my name on it with the which is one of my prize collections and such.
Nice.
Like that's not the chair you throw the dirty laundry on.
So how do you display that?
I have it in my art studio at my house. I just have it in the corner. Nobody sits on it. This is mine.
Is there a sign?
Not too many people go through my house.
I wonder, actors who are in a lot of big budget movies, do they keep those chairs?
Mm-mm.
Nope. They just, they're used to it, so they just discard them.
No, we the same chairs we've been using pretty much from show to show to show.
You just take the banner off?
Just take the chair back, the backs come off, and they just slide right off, and then you slide the new ones on for whatever the production may be, or if you say you're going to only have 3 of the 5 Guardians, well, you only set up those 3, and then, that kind of thing.
Did Rocket get a chair?
No, well, here's the thing with Rocket. There was a actual stacked figure, I guess, made of Rocket with real raccoon skin, modeled after and that was what the actors played off of. So they would have something to act against, so they knew where the eye line was going. Yeah, it was wild. It was like this 2-foot tall rocket, and it was made with raccoon fur. Yeah, it was really, really neat.
How accurate was that physical model to what he appeared on film?
They literally changed costumes depending upon this thing.
Really?
Oh yeah. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So they, it was.
Was the voice actor there doing the lines, or they just had it pre-recorded, or they have a PA?
That's usually done afterwards. Okay. But they, at least what I saw with Guardians is James Gunn's brother Sean Gunn wears the green CGI suit. If you've ever seen the behind-the-scenes shots of like Drax patting this guy in a green awkward suit, that's Sean, and he was the one that was physically there. If they needed to interact, like say Rocket gives you something, that's where the action came from. Just the amount of thinking people go into with this is just outstanding, and like being able to think of, that's above my pay grade. So I would never think of something like that.
That's crazy.
Speaking of Rocket, here it is. There's the minifigure. Does anything look familiar to you there?
So that's Guardian 1. That's his Ravager outfit, and then so fun fact with Rocket, his thing he does is he cobbles everything together. That's his power, I guess. He can take random objects and such. A lot of the stuff that we made for him was just what's called kit bashed. We just have parts and we just put it together, and we have a general idea what it's supposed to look like, and then we just put it together. That's one of the fun things that I love doing that, because you kind of get creative and make things that don't work together and find a way to do it. In Guardians 2, there's that nanotech welder that he uses after they land on the planet Bear. You see Rocket using this thing to repair the ship, and that was 100% kit bashed. Physically, we made it there, and then it was all kit bashed together. And
so you'll just take like the bottom part of a blender or this part of a radio and just cobble it together.
I love junk stores and I love pawn shops because you can go in there and get random stuff and a lot of computer parts and stuff. So in the shop, I have bins upon bins of just junk. And when I get something like, all right, we need this kind of, like, okay, so I get all the bins out and just to kind of go through them all. And there's.
I tell my kind of shop.
Yeah, actually, it reminds me that your shop is much more well organized. With I see the clear totes with every behind you guys. At least on your old sets. Yeah, that would be the way to do it. But I'm not nearly that. I have computer parts.
What's the goofiest thing you've ever kit-bashed? Like, goofiest part you ever threw on something to make it look cool?
So on that Nanotech welder, it's a bunch of conduit metal piping and I found a scooter motor. It just looked cool. It was red and looked cool or whatever. So I just, all right, well, that's going to go on there. And how am I going to get it on? I don't know. We'll just figure it out. Yeah, there's just a lot of bolts, a lot of rivets, and you can never show screws. And you never, because the Phillips, that throws it out. Because people, if you learn from the lightsaber on the Rey poster, like people ripped it a new one because you could see one Phillips head. So I remember that. So it's like when I make stuff, I'm not going to.
Because anything in the future or futuristic cannot have the screw or flathead or...
Yeah, and one way, if I have to, I go back and Bondo over it to hide it and then paint it.
Has to be rivets, or it's not from the future.
Yeah, rivet. Yeah, because everything in the future is made with rivets.
Yeah, people don't have screws in the future. How closely... Now, this is at a very small scale with very minimum amount of pieces. Do you think Lego did a good job with what they could capturing that?
I don't know. I think Lego kind of kit-bashed it.
Yeah.
They get bashed in the heck.
Yeah. I mean, this is a good, like, you can, it's besides it's a raccoon, but you can tell which suit he's wearing on him. The guns and, they're only allowed to... It's so small how much you can't really fit a lot of stuff on there. And I like the representation of Groot there. That's yep.
Too bad they didn't put like a tiny print.
Yeah.
As an artist, do you think you could put a face on that?
I probably could.
We should have him do that and then sign it or something.
Well, what I would probably do is just draw it and then print it out. No, print it out on I'd make a label like they do the labels here.
You should do something where somebody could win it.
Oh yeah,
that would be awesome. Yeah. That would be cool. Yeah, I'll see what I can do and
cool
for you.
All right, stay tuned. Maybe there'll be a prize.
Yes, baiting people to watch your show.
That's right. We don't do that on the internet, right? No. YouTubers never bait people to watch their stuff.
Wait to the end and see the review.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember, smash that like button.
We are on Guardians, so let's keep the Guardians rolling. We've got little gentleman there, Peter Quill.
Peter Quill with his elemental guns. Well, that's a good.
That was a new mold for that figure, or had that been a pre-existing mold?
Right. It was new.
It was new for Avengers because it's too close. There's no way.
I mean, that's spot on. I mean, besides it not being left and right, but that's spot on.
I did not realize that his guns were specific to his hand.
There is a left hand and a right hand set.
Have you ever gotten to hold those guns before?
Yes, I have. Where they attached on his pants was a special rig that we had to that I got the molds for. That's where I really got a good crash course in mold making. The hair is that a usual?
No, what they do is they'll change the color of hair. I think they've used that before on a Jurassic World minifigure. That dude Owen from Jurassic World
looks a lot like it. Yeah. I mean,
but I think it was a different color, like tan.
And they have it with the helmet too, which is that's impressive. Is it? Oh, okay. I see. I was like, does it go over the hair? Well, the story with this is this is one again where it's a costume and a prop was his helmet.
Star Wars helmet.
Yep.
Okay.
Because in Guardians 2, when he gets knocked back, spoilers. When he gets knocked back by Ego, he lands and it breaks his helmet. Well, there's your action, so they had to have something to break. Infinity War, when what's his name? Thanos, there it is. Thank you. I'm losing my train of thought. Big purple dude. When he uses the reality warping stone when he is at nowhere for the collector, and he spaghettifies Mantis and then turns Drax into a bunch of blocks. I made those blocks where we took like literally just blocks of wood and I painted Drax on there, so I had 6'8" version of blocks that would kind of made that shape, so they had something to work with. Now it was all CGI'd in the end, but there was like, so again, so actors have something physical to interact with, something practical, and that's also when I realized how intricate that tattoo system he's got going on. There's a lot going. Go back and look
Drax.
at it. Yeah, on Drax. That is.
Well, we have it here.
Speaking of it,
There's Drax.
Oh my
a couple
gosh.
of them, right?
I
And the
think we
tattoos
have
different
two here,
between the movies or not?
No, same tattoos. Same. I believe they're the same tattoos. That is impressive. Wow.
So the tattoos are on him. That's not CGI.
No, he spent an enormous amount of time, I would think, in a makeup chair to put that stuff on, and the patience of that man has to be astounding. And they're actually raised tattoo. They stand proud, but yes, super intricate. But that's really impressive how close they come to it. And I also like how instead of skulls, they have Lego Men head on there.
Get out of here! I've never noticed that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right there.
Oh yeah,
They're supposed to be skulls.
it's actually
my
the Lego
gosh,
skeleton.
that is
it's
so
the Lego
cool.
skeleton.
It is. Yeah, that's
I can't believe. Yeah, on his arm too.
yeah.
I can't believe you noticed that. That's cool.
Well, when I spent quite a few hours painting it, I kind of remembered what it was. That gets burned into your head.
We have a gym down the street from the store, and when I say down the street, probably 5 miles. And people saw Batista working out at the gym when they were filming a couple years ago, and that was exciting.
Yes. Yeah, he is a very large gentleman. He is my height, but definitely not my build. And yeah.
He's much thinner than you are.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We did okay, so when you get above a certain height, which a lot of people that we've worked with barely break the 6 foot mark. But Hemsworth does, and I think there's a couple other people that do, but he really passes that. So when walking around, it was like, hey, another really tall guy. You know, it's like, you do that, okay.
You do the little nod, yeah.
Tall guy nod, and just kind of go about our business. And
You had mentioned the Reality Stone. There's the pack that Lego gives you.
it gives you 3.
Well, they give you
4.
4, yeah, on the sprue. And then you only need 1, so they give you 3 extras.
This round circle is called the sprue.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Actually, in modeling kits, those are sprues too. Anything where you snap off a
Yeah, like
plastic
model
thing.
kits and such. Yeah, what you literally just said. Oh, repeat it. Okay.
So, like in certain sets where you had all of them, where it came with Thanos, you would get all 6 sprues.
Oh wow.
Not to correct you there, but I don't think they put all 6 in any.
There was no one set, really.
They made you buy the individual kits to get 1 stone in each kit.
Oh.
So the yellow stone was actually the hardest one to get,
Mind
the
Stone.
Mind Stone. And I think that was in the Corvus Glaive set.
I
which
did not
was
realize
kind
that.
of a harder set to
I knew
find.
that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lego always does chase items.
Yes.
But
So the
usually, with the major set, usually comes at the end of the line, or it would be the most expensive one of a group of sets. But usually, they'll give you all the chase items in one larger set. You said that is not true with the Infinity Stones?
Which set came with the gauntlet itself?
That was the Milano where they fought Thanos. So Thanos came with that set. Now they have had a few different gauntlets come out.
Yeah, because the
was
full
the
one
more
comes. It's like
popular
mid
one.
forearm.
How much do we sell just this with all Infinity Stones on it?
Now it is $20. I think it used to be like $40.
Oh, it's come down.
Because it was so hard to get, but now the stones are coming out in other sets. The gauntlets coming out in other sets. It's getting easier to find. So it's probably at its all-time low right now, as long as they don't come out with any more, which I don't see why they would, because that storyline's gone. So now it's going to start going up again at this point in time. So it's a good time to buy it.
That leads me to the question I want to ask you: how much does the price, and how do you know what it? How do you know?
So you never know for sure. It's kind of like the stock market. If you know, then you can't beat the market.
Right.
Okay. With Lego, you kind of can beat the market. You just buy anything. It's going to go up. But so, for instance, in the news recently, Gina Carano from The Mandalorian is off the show, and the set that she came in has doubled in value.
Just because of that.
It's a $40 set. It's selling for $80 on Amazon right now. And the minifigure in 1 week, just with that news, went from being $9 to $30, and we can't keep her in stock.
Just the one figure.
Just the one figure.
Wow.
And she came in a $40 set, which you can still find on the shelves sometimes. You can't get it online anymore.
Interesting.
And then another example, once the Black Panther died, his character died in real life, then the figures skyrocketed in price. You know,
Interesting.
And even Kobe Bryant.
Really? There's a Lego figure?
They made a Lego figure of Kobe Bryant in 2002, the 2002 NBA All-Stars. Do you remember seeing the Lego movie where they talked about the 2000? Shaquille O'Neal was there.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, hey, look, it's Shaquille O'Neal and the 2002 NBA All-Stars. They made the...
There's a reference to an actual
model set.
line of sets. Yeah.
I don't know why, but I didn't think that. Of course, that makes sense. They would make Lego figures of like
It was
sports.
It was a limited line, and they basically just did basketball players. It was just with the NBA, right?
Basketball with the NBA.
And a couple of hockey players, right?
But they didn't have their names on. They weren't licensed.
Oh, okay.
Only the basketball was licensed, and since then they did soccer recently.
Yes.
The German soccer team.
Yeah.
Then they did the Great Britain Olympic team.
That's right.
And that's pretty much it. Speaking of Corvus Glaive, there he is. I think the Yellowstone came in his set.
That's pretty impressive.
The Mind Stone.
I don't remember him smiling so much, but and that's a good take on his spear. Corvus's glaive. I got to help make the stunt versions of these, and that were made to the size of the character who will eventually be CGI'd. So I think Corvus it was somewhere in between 7 and 8 feet tall, I think. So we'd have to make to size foam rubber. They were all CGI'd, so it would just be like this shape and like made out of EVA foam, and with a padded. So it's for the stunts team, so they would always have something. So they have something to work with. I would make a Corvus Glaive size one, and then the stunt person. The stunt size.
What do they use the oversized one for? The actual size.
If they needed something again for the actors to play off of, like
do they actually swing that around, like get 2 people and swing it? Or?
Well, at one point I think like Corvus throws his glaive, or glaive gets in Proxima Midnight throws it or something like that, and and then another character picks it up or whatever. So they'll pick that up, that physical thing up. But yeah, some people aren't actually working with the oversized. I mean, Thanos' double sword thing was 10 feet. I mean, it was massive. So,
but you guys had to make a physical 10-foot one.
Yeah, and being my height, I got used as the body double to stand in. I'd stand on like a couple blocks or whatever to get me up to that height to make sure it was
for Thanos or
for all of them. For all.
Oh,
of them.
really?
Mm-hmm. You know, I've never done that. Every project is something I've never done before.
Yeah.
Always, it's always something.
Never done that before.
Never done that before. Let's figure it out.
Rolling right along with the Guardians, here's Gamora, one of our favorite characters from the Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love the hair. The way they put the little bit of purple on it.
That's impressive.
And that is a color we don't get in Lego very often for hands and heads.
Yes. Yeah, what is that? Lime green? Is that lime green? Yeah.
I would call it lime green.
Yeah, I would too. So that's Guardians 1, that's her Ravager outfit, and then that's Guardians 2 because she's got the jet packs and such on.
Was her sword a real thing?
There was 2 versions of it. I didn't make it, but I did remember seeing them, and usually with anything that extends, that's always done in post. As I understand, it would be difficult to work with that. So there is a condensed version which goes on her hip, and then there's a long version which is the long sword. Again, great call out to the man the team that made that. That was a really beautiful sword.
I figured out why sunglasses are props and not because they have an action.
They block the sun?
Oh no, they take them off and such. Yeah, the lenses themselves are actually anti-reflective coated, so they don't reflect the lights and stuff like that. And from
so you guys have to pop out the lenses when you get them.
No,
you buy them.
There are companies that will put a coating on it and stuff like that.
Little history lesson: who invented sunglasses?
America.
Who's credited with inventing sunglasses? Of course, it was America.
I have no idea.
Because we're so cool.
Right.
Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, he also did the bifocals and as well.
Totally see that.
And diving fins, flippers.
Really?
Yeah. He invented those when he was swimming in the Thames River every day when he lived in London. Back to Gamora, her sword name.
I want to say God Killer, but that's Wonder Woman. Something Killer. I can't remember.
You got it. It's God Slayer.
God Slayer, that's what it was.
Slayer,
yeah. That's right, yeah.
And I don't remember them talking about that in the MCU.
Yeah, it's the comic book.
But it is on, and I only know this because I looked it up before we started talking about it.
You're like, I knew this before I got here.
On the wiki fandom for the MCU, they call it Godslayer. Maybe it was in the movie somewhere.
Well, there are a lot of times like Scarlet Witch through the Avengers too, and that she's never called Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
We know her as that, but it's always Wanda.
I mean, the MCU is a different take on
Yes.
a lot of the characters. Like, the thing I'm always told is Thanos is way more powerful in the comics.
Yes.
And they really nerfed him.
Well, yeah, and they in the comics, the mainline comics is Universe 616. The MCU is part of that world at a different universe, so that's why it's slightly different. It's actually MCU seems to lean more towards the Ultimate Universe, but it does have a number registered to it. I can't remember what it is off the top.
That's
of
funny.
But they incorporate that, so that's why it's different, is because it's a different universe, and
So they acknowledge that the movies exist in the comics.
Yes.
But it's a different universe.
Yes, that's
it's
exactly.
not ours.
Yes, I think that's a great way to pull
Yeah.
everything together. So
Yeah. And then they can draw from the movies whenever they want.
And it's called Godslayer because it can kill an Asgardian.
Oh, neat.
And it makes an awesome metal song
Yes.
title.
Yes, yeah. 80s hair band would love that.
Speaking of swords and sisters and Gamora and all that,
Nebula.
we've got Nebula.
From
What do you know
Guardians.
about Nebula?
Guardians 2, and yeah, that's her, the time heist suit, the quantum suit. Karen Gillan, props to her to sit and put this. There is a video out there of her sitting in this and putting this makeup on every single day. I don't have the patience for that, nor because it's
So it sits
hours.
still,
And
yeah.
not only is it putting it on, but it's taking it back off.
Yeah.
And as some of that stuff ages with it being on so long, it gets difficult to take it off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the professional makeup is like this or not, but I do my makeup for Halloween every year, for Darth Maul usually. It gets itchy. And if you scratch it, you could mess it up, or it could get on your hands. And
That's why she was so angry in the movies. She used
Yes,
that
can
makes
ask
a
her.
lot
Yeah.
of sense.
she used it for the emotion.
The talent of these makeup artists, because you would walk by and it looked amazing. As I understand, it's a lot of latex with rubber glue or whatever they use to stick it to their face, so it gets hot is what's usually the problem, as I understand it. So you sweat, and then now you build up moisture in between that. Being a fairly large guy who sweats a lot, I cannot deal with this, so that'd be a little too uncomfortable for me.
We've got
that is
Groot
Groot.
here.
They did make a larger, that was the first one, right?
Yeah.
The buildable one. It had a specialized chest and head.
Sort of like this.
almost as big as this.
Yeah, it was almost as tall as that, but it looked. They didn't use, notice this is in the minifigure proportion body.
Right.
The Groot was not. The Groot was more like he had looked in the movie, like long and lanky. That is teenage Groot.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is Groot from Guardians 2. I recognize the chest pattern because that got changed in pose, but also he's got the whip from when he grow his vine out and throw people around, and Groot from Guardians 2,
Which
was I'm sorry to break the fourth wall and say that he was CGI.
No, really?
That wasn't a guy in a costume?
No, it wasn't. They
I
did.
thought it was. It was Chronicles of Riddick.
Chronicles.
Yeah, the guy that played what's
Oh,
his
Vin
name?
Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Vin
Yeah.
Diesel
They
there.
squished Vin Diesel. Yes. I mean, they had a figure. They had a figure that they had on set that you could, so the actors would get eyeline and stuff like that. But yeah, he was. I'm sorry, Justin, but 100% CGI. Everybody loves Baby Groot, though. Goodness.
Well, okay. Baby Groot or Baby Yoda?
That's tough.
What camp are you in?
Well, first of
yeah,
all,
I've never.
Grogu or
actually, it's Grogu is what it is. But that's tough.
That
That's
is tough. Never
That-
considered that before.
Yeah.
Who's cuter?
Groot came first. I'd
is
have to
just-
think about it.
Yeah,
I'd have
that's
to
just-
weigh my pros and cons.
All right, how about this? Think of Yoda to Baby Yoda and Groot to Baby Groot. Which is a better cutification? A baby.
Oh, Yoda to Baby to Grogu.
Okay.
Totally.
Is that because Yoda's so hideous?
Well, he's not hideous. I mean, when 900 years old you reach, look have as good will you not?
Yes.
So, yeah, there you go. Thor.
So, they used Groot's arm
Oh, that's cool.
to make
That is
Stormbringer.
Stormbreaker. Yeah, and he's got the hair. That's awesome. That's really cool that they kept it with Groot's arm. Yeah, that was a beautiful piece. Stormbreaker, a very, very talented mill machined that out. They are just extremely talented. They have a lot of big boy machines over there that I don't have at my shop.
Now, remind me of what it looked like in the movie. Wasn't it longer than that? Wasn't the handle longer on that, or was it a single-handed weapon?
He uses both, but when he came at Thanos and should have gone for the head kind of thing, he was a double arm.
Okay.
But if you watch him when he first shows up, which is the most epic entrance ever, when he shows up with the Bifrost when they're in the Wakanda battle for Wakanda, he does. I think he alternates between. Big
so
and
this
small.
is accurate size. It's not like a long.
No, it definitely has a long handle. To
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder why they didn't do that for the Lego version.
Yeah, they could have just given it a bar, but I think there's like a knot at the bottom of it. I think so.
That's why
wanted
they're
it to
going with
look
that.
like the knot.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it also has like his fingers grew up and around the actual head of the axe.
Yeah,
kind
and they
of
clearly kibashed that.
Yeah, yeah.
You mean went in the woods and pulled up some poison ivy?
Yeah, they took Baby Groot and they put Baby Groot up there
Yeah.
as the handle, and that's a lightsaber hilt.
That's right. So this is Lego kit bashing. That's right.
a
I think
lightsaber
that's
hilt.
Gimli's axe. It's very similar to
It's the lightsaber hilt has the same thing on the other, or similar on the other
Oh,
side.
gotcha.
So
That's Gimli's axe.
Do you think this minifigure represents how buff he is in real life?
He's slightly, a little bit. I mean, it's slightly, just slightly. But here's an interesting thing: he did filmed Endgame. If you go back and watch the bonus features and such, you can see this too. That it was filmed. He didn't actually have the sleeves when he shows up in the Bifrost. Those are all CGI'd on as well, because it's like scaled and stuff like that. I guess it was
Because
just
they couldn't fit sleeves on arms, guns that big?
probably that's what I have the same problem. But so I can relate. But
This is
Is that,
CGI.
is that the CGI part that you're talking about?
that's a
Ragnarok.
part of the Ragnarok armor. Yeah, because he had like that one sleeve part of the armor. They did a great job with that helmet.
It is cool, yeah.
That was new for this figure.
Is that so? That is a legit.
Yeah, that's legit.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
came on the
great piece.
Ragnarok figure.
It doesn't move. It's pretty cool.
That's was the first in Ragnarok was the first time he had a helmet on since Thor 1. Was that so? Everybody was really excited when he got the helmet back.
A local tie shop that is down the road from our store posted a picture on our local Facebook page with Chris Helmsworth in there getting tie food.
Oh,
I guess he
really?
likes coming in there, and he's always got a hoodie on. His hoodie's up, and he's standing with the workers at the restaurant. He's about twice their
He's
their
6'3".
height.
He breaks the 6 foot rule.
And it's like, man, why? So Batista's going to the gym. Chris Helmsworth's going to the Thai restaurant. Why don't they come to the Lego store?
Yeah.
I'll drop it next time.
It's
talk.
the best. It's the best place.
If I ever go back to set with everything
Yeah.
going on, yeah. But that's a great figure. I like that's really.
He's got
really
his
detailed.
pauldron, which also holds swords.
So he does have
in
the dual swords.
Yeah, he came
Yeah.
with the swords.
And that was a Ninjago, right, armor piece that they recolored in blue
Yes.
for him. It's never been in that
Yeah.
color again, I don't think.
Yeah, so they actually kit bashed that from
There we go.
Ninjago, yeah.
That's my new. That term applies to Lego so well.
Well, that's all Lego is. It's kit bashing.
It's kids how you reuse. Well, that's really interesting how they will like use old sets for newer figures
Yeah.
and stuff like
We've
that.
got a great example of that coming up.
This is Valkyrie, and that's really close. That's a different sword than Gamora's sword had more of a katana look for it, and this is more of a broadsword, gladius kind of sword.
Is that how you say it? I always said gladius, like a gladiator, but it's gladius?
I could be saying it wrong my whole life.
I would say Gladius, but I obviously from our Lord of the Rings episode, I obviously get things wrong, or was I right? But it did have a name, that sword.
This is cool.
It's Dragon Fang.
This sword, Dragon Fan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it was actually given to her by Doctor Strange in the comic book.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
Which is, it'd be neat if they brought that back, that storyline back in a later movie.
Well, and also, isn't the comic books like Valkyrie is a title, and multiple women have carried the mantle of. It wasn't just Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie. They had a couple others. As I understand, I never really read a lot of Thor.
And I do think they all had swords like that. It is made of sapphiric steel.
If you watch Endgame, where the final battle, that epic scene where everybody's going bananas and just you're standing on the edge of your seat, when she flies by on her, it actually extends out to slice through the Chitauri whales and stuff like that. It was like, it was such a cool thing. So it wasn't always stagnant in the sword form. I guess it could grow and extend.
You mentioned the Chitauri. There's the Chitauri from
Avengers.
Yeah.
Check out his weapon.
That is very Mars Attacks-ish.
That's from Endgame. So that's the newer
Did they
version.
have something like that?
Yeah, they had these weapons that looked like they were attached to them. Because remember the battle for New York in Avengers, Black Widow rips one of the guy's arms off, and he was using that.
This is from Avengers, the first Avengers from the Battle of New York. So it's a similar gun. Should be similar, almost the same gun.
The color choice is correct. There's a lot of purples and such, and golds in that.
I like how this guy's having so much fun.
Yes, he's so
happy.
Big difference in printing there.
Yeah.
And you said this was like a 1950s kind of zap ray gun.
Yeah, the zappy ray gun.
That's because that is what it is.
Oh my gosh.
It was when
it's revealed.
Yeah. When did they come out with this one? Was that for the CMF? The
Alien Conquest.
Alien Conquest. Okay.
Don't they keep the molds? Like the brick molds under lock and key and in a safe somewhere because they're so precise with the way they fit together?
They used to, but now that they're making them in so many different countries, it's hard to do that.
That is a Lego question for you. Is the trivia you always hear about Legos, the tire trivia, is that true? Like Lego makes more tires than any other real tire company in the world.
Yes.
That is true?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. That's awesome. And there's so many Legos that have been made that every person... Lego, excuse me. I stand corrected. I'll wash my mouth out with soap later.
With bricks.
With bricks, yeah, that's the best way. Don't do it! They've made so many that every person on the planet could have, 7 billion people could have...
The minifigures?
Well, with minifigures or just Lego pieces in general.
I've heard that about minifigures, that there's enough... They've produced enough minifigures for every person on the planet to have a dozen or something. Whatever the statistic is.
And minifigures, is it a fairly newish thing? In the longevity of Lego company?
1978.
1970. It's older than I am. Wow.
43 years old.
Yeah, because I'm only 25, so...
You're a spring chicken.
I'm a spring chicken, yeah.
So that was the Chitauri. Here's the leader of the Chitauri, the first
Loki.
Avengers.
Yep, that's a great looking helmet, too.
Yeah. So the helmet was real, right?
I believe they had... I didn't work on that film, but I believe that they had a real helmet.
How did they do that without it completely the weight just... I mean, I assume it's hollow or something. How did they do that? How would you guess?
If I had to make this, it would probably make it out of aluminum or something like very thin gauge aluminum to really make it light. And then I would probably extra padding towards the back so it doesn't have the opportunity to roll backwards. I would have to get really accurate measurements of his head to make sure it would fit perfectly.
You'd make it out of aluminum. You wouldn't do some kind of lighter material.
Well, if I honestly, nowadays, I 3D print it. I just 3D print it. And I 1, 2, 3 big pieces, put it together. A paint job will never, usually, at least my talent with painting, it's really hard to mimic metal, at least for me. And so... that would be the caveat to that would be, I could do it, it'd be a lot easier, a lot lighter, but it wouldn't, a metal one would always look better. It's always going to look better. It's truer looking.
How many years ago is that movie now?
2012.
So how do you think they did it? What would be your guess? Did they make it out of metal?
There were probably some versions that were probably fiberglass or something along those, really thin kind of. But there are some super talented mold makers and stuff that would, and costume designers that would know, like, oh yeah, it would be this. But if as a prop guy, I would go lean more towards on aluminum.
Okay.
So the Loki from that set didn't have the side, which that's also Raphael's from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it's in Ninjago, and it's on the top of the Palace Cinema.
Yes.
Modular in black. It had a clear gem up here for the Tesseract.
That ended up being, it wasn't the Mind's I can't remember my trivia. Whatever the stone was in there. So, did it glow blue? Was it blue?
The Tesseract was the vessel for the blue one.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, the Space Stone.
Yeah, the space stone. That's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
The Tesseract, that was around in a lot of Marvel movies.
Yeah, it was all the way back, I think, in the first Thor. I don't think it made an appearance in the second one, but nobody talks about Dark World anyway.
It was in Captain America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Red Skull comes and breaks down. That's when you first see it, that's right.
So let me ask you, longtime comic book Marvel fans, this about overall aesthetic and look. When they change someone's costume to be more updated and cinematic for a modern movie-going audience, was there a costume or a look that you guys were disappointed with? Like, obviously, Iron Man looked awesome, a cool update, but like Loki, the way he looked in the comics before the movie, and then what they did with his outfit in the movie was very different. Mm-hmm. Is there a character you felt like, I wouldn't have done that, or that wasn't as cool?
I am disappointed to see every single character for the first time not in their comic book costume.
Really? Not the
but
tights?
Then I like their MCU costume more than their comic book costume.
I'm
so
the
it
same
grows
boat
on
with
him.
him. Yeah, I'm the same boat because it's like, like, I wanted to be that, but then you go back and look at it, I'm like,
it's just tights. It's just green tights.
Bright colored costume.
There's some screen test of Hawkeye where they actually made the comic book accurate helmet with the big wings, and it was so goofy looking. Oh my gosh! I'm like, thank you.
Well, look at Wanda Vision is out, and it's been out, the episode, so we can talk about it. Where they go in their classic costumes and as trick-or-treating in their classic costumes. And the Scarlet Witch's costume looks awesome.
Yeah.
The Vision's looks... He's wearing boxer shorts.
Yeah.
It's like, what is he wearing?
But he's comic book accurate.
Yeah,
right?
he's very comic book accurate.
So silly.
But did you notice that Quicksilver has the cut-off jean shorts with his? And I was like, oh yeah, that was a thing we did back then, was where, okay.
In later versions of this staff that he's holding, this was a different staff in the Avengers. They just put the Sai up there, and they turned it into Gungnir, Odin's staff.
Oh yeah, that was very reminiscent of it.
That looks, to me, very very
just
similar.
adding one little piece.
Now, 4 people held. This is a little trivia. I did some research ahead of time. I don't know this stuff. 4 people in the MCU held Gungnir. Who were they?
I should have prepared for this, but it's Thor, Odin, Loki, and Hela.
No, that's a good guess, and you're close. Hela's grandfather, Bor.
Oh, you're talking about the comic book?
No, from Dark World.
Oh, nobody talks about Dark World.
I dismiss your trivia.
Okay, Bor.
Dark World didn't happen.
Yes.
Actually, Odin's father, Bor, held it in Dark World.
Was it just for a quick second in the movie?
Yeah, it was when they're fighting the on the planet, and Dark Elves or Frost Giants.
Oh, in the flashback.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Bor had a really cool storyline where I think it's the first time he picks up Mjolnir, and Fear itself is the story, and that's the main antagonist is Bor. That scene where he picks up the hammer in Endgame where everybody goes banana. And by the way, we did too, cast and crew screening of it. Like, I was on the edge of my seat screaming and yelling too, like, this is the coolest thing. Yeah, so even though we knew that was coming, it was still the coolest thing ever. So.
Was there a trick to when the Avengers were all, having a party and having fun and actually picking up the hammer? Was there a movie trick to that, or how did they do that?
Well, I know exactly how they did that, but it's very practical. How do you think they did it?
To me, I would have just done it with cuts and had the actor just pretend, or had somebody hold it off screen or something like that. But
that's close. The second one's closer.
Okay.
It's literally as simple as they make multiple hammers, and as I understand it, you literally screwed the hammer to that table. And then or whatever they're picking it up, and that's how and then it was the actors playing off, but it was literally stationary.
So they had multiple tables and multiple hammers.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's always multiple props. You know, if you have one, you have none, is the way we think. So you always make multiples of everything.
So when Cap moved it a little bit, how did they do that?
That was probably they swapped out for a different hammer and then had him play it off like he just barely.
Do you think it was like magnets or super heavy where it would?
To be honest, I don't know. Magnus would.
Maybe it was really good acting.
Yeah. You ever think about that? Chris Evans, man. I would, if I had to make it, I don't know that, but if I had to guess, probably somewhere around Magnus, but he would still be more based on, that's just good acting, is what that probably boils down to.
I love the face he makes when he moves at Thor.
Yeah.
It's really worried. He almost drops his beard.
Yep.
And Cap just goes, oh, well, you know, yeah. Couldn't do it, guys.
Speaking of Mjolnir.
Oh, that is definitely Thor 1 because of the super blonde hair and they bleached blonde his eyebrows to match. And that's a pretty good Thor hammer.
Now, that was new for this line.
It definitely
that did not exist in Lego before that.
It definitely has the shape of it. I mean, that's pretty, even down to where it comes up just a little bit on the top. But yeah, that's a pretty good representation.
Or any of the Asgardian runes around it.
That's really good. That's a good looking hammer.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I know you made it yourself. So,
how heavy is Thor's hammer in real life?
Well,
is the prop?
Well, most props you have several different versions of them. I'm not in the most action weapons and such. You usually have the basic premise, and this isn't just Marvel. A lot of shows do this. They make a rubber one for stunts. They make a fiberglass or something like that for like running around, jumping and kicking, and not actual contact. And then you have what's called a hero prop. And not because a hero holds it, it's for close-up and shots like that. So those are typically made of a similar material of what it's supposed to be. We obviously don't have Uru metal here, but so they would make it out of like aluminum.
Where do you keep the Uru metal?
Yeah, well, in my back pocket. So I would imagine Thor's hammer they probably, like the fiberglass ones are really light. Because that makes Chris look like he's super strong because he can, maneuver this thing around. And the metal ones, being some of that side, I would assume they use aluminum, would be my guess. If they made it solid, that would be probably pretty heavy, 30-something pounds, 40-something pounds easily. But I would imagine they would have hollowed it out just to make it a little bit easier to use. That would be my guess. I didn't make them, but that if I had to, I would go that way.
You told me one time that the Stormbreaker was like, the actual hero prop was like 40 pounds.
Oh,
or something?
yeah. The metal one was super duper heavy because the one that I got to see and pick up, the hammer was solid. It was solid all the way through. And even though it was aluminum, which aluminum is the lighter of the metal, it was still, a solid brick of that stuff was pretty heavy. So I think it was closer to 50, 60 pounds.
Wow.
On that. Now, that was not the one that he would swing around and
it was just for close-ups.
Yeah,
and you just hold it for a second.
Okay. Even to when he opens the beer bottle on it in Endgame. It was anytime it's a really close-up shot, and that's the one where you see all the nice runes and you can really read it and so on.
That's the only time they use the heavy one.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Would be the only time because swinging that thing around and lugging that, even though Chris is pretty strong guy, you can just even with him, I would imagine it would be very tiresome. So most of the time, he probably carried around, I would guess, the fiberglass one and stuff like that because they're just easier to work with.
And they just have several of those all painted the same, so if it chips or scratches, they just switch it out.
Again, like I said, if you have one, you have none. I would imagine they probably have quite a few, and as soon as one gets scratched, then or damaged or chipped or whatever the case may be, they swap it up for the next one. And that's one of the challenges, I think, if you make more than one thing, painting them exactly the same.
Because it's hand-painted.
Well, a lot of that is, definitely hand-painted.
Wow.
I know some of the props that I've had to make multiples of. It's like I paint one, and then it's like, okay, I keep that one as my reference, and then I try to paint the other one exactly down, like the same layering of different, Wow. And it was not an easy skill to learn, and I'm still not great at it by any means. Somebody took me under their wing who was one of the on-set painters, and he helped me. I helped him out with some of his stuff, and he was like, well, here, I'm interested in how to do this, and so he would show me some of the tricks and buff and rub, or rub and buff. It's a the paste, these metal stuff, adds like a metal sheen or if like a chip mark or stuff. It makes stuff look awesome. You can spray, rattle can and paint it, and then use some rub and buff on there to like highlight the metal marks and stuff like that. The Baby Groot's bomb was the one they put on Ego. That was one I made multiple of. That was one of the first things that I really learned how to paint. It was good, and then the guy who taught me was like, well, here, check this out. And we would like, oh my gosh, that's so great. So it's a little tricks like that. And so I use those techniques to when the next thing I got to paint or whatever the case may be. So
now, in your experience working with metal, what do you think is a stronger metal, Uru or Vibranium?
According, I think in the comics, Uru's technically stronger because it was forged in this space storm and of a collapsing star or something along those lines. Okay. And where adamantium was a meteorite that crashed in Wakanda. No, adamantium was what they put on. Oh, it was vibranium that landed in Wakanda.
Yeah, adamantium
was on Wolverine's claws.
Yeah. It seems like vibranium is a little easier to get.
I think so. Well, the whole country of Wakanda is like living on it.
Yeah, and Uru seems to be able to be imbued with mystical powers, whereas vibranium is just...
It's imbued with science. Because it can absorb physical damage.
Speaking of vibranium, this is Okoye.
Okoye, yep.
And she has a vibranium spear.
Yes, I would assume that this is probably a well-used spear in a lot of other sets. But it's got the, it's got the spear shape to it. They got the Dora, I can never pronounce the guards. I'm sure somebody in the comments will do that and correct me.
Please do, help us out.
Yeah, but that's really good. That looks a lot like it. That's, I think, my takeaway from this is how detailed these things get and how out of the loop I've been.
Need to get back in the
Lego. We're making a new collector here.
Yeah, that's right. At least with Marvel stuff.
Yes.
So this character also plays Michonne in The Walking Dead.
Yes.
And Michonne, Walking Dead is filmed right here as well, right down the street from our store, literally. We'll be driving down the road and it's like, oh, there's that scene from that one episode of The Walking Dead. Right there. Have you met her?
I didn't do much on Black Panther, but in Endgame and Infinity War, she obviously made an appearance and such. So a wonderful lady, nice lady. I can't say enough good things about her. So really, really cool. I loved Okoye. Besides Black Panther, Okoye was probably my equal standing on my favorite character.
She really changed her appearance from Michonne.
Yeah, the whole shaved head thing, but no longer dreadlocks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And she still pulled it off.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. The spear Lego's been using since at least the early 80s.
Because I had a knight set.
The castle.
Yeah, castle. Yeah, that's right.
It is really nice to know that some things don't change. They've changed the swords from those sets. They've changed the shields. It's nice to know that something.
Spear, at least. Yeah. There's something I still recognize.
Yeah.
Speaking of vibranium, that is what Captain America's shield's made of, right? There's the, guess which one is the movie version?
I'm going to have to go with, this is the movie. No. Yeah, that's the movie version.
Dark blue.
Yeah, dark blue suit, dark red shield. And the comic version has the bright red shield, the bright blue suit.
Well, that's the rule of movieizing comic book. Is just make it same color palette, just darker.
Yes, they just turn down they just have a slider.
Now, you did get to work on the shield, though, right?
Not this particular one. First of all, this is really accurate. Besides being round, we kind of got that nailed that. But the distance between each one of the rings, these color rings, that's the ratio that it really is. Because the shield itself is 2 feet across. So this is a little bit bigger than him, but yeah, that's really, really nice.
So Lego did use the same shield for the Infinity War and the later movies as well.
Did the shield change much between those movies?
The actual look of the shield was pretty much spot on until he gave up the shield in Civil War. At the end of Civil War, he drops it in front of Tony, and then he doesn't actually have a shield until Infinity War, where T'Challa makes him and get the man the shield. That's a meme everywhere. But yeah, he's the one that gave him a replacement shield.
Do you notice the white on these?
The white is almost like see-through on the bright red one. It's like...
Lego has had some problems with printing on darker tones. You've noticed this a lot. Supposedly, when it's nice, they put a primer under it first.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't. And they've done it with faces before where it just looks so bad. It'll be a white head and they print flesh on it, or it's a dark head and they print a flesh. It just looks so bad. But yeah, that's interesting that they did it for this, but they didn't for that.
I'm assuming then this probably came first then.
I don't know.
No, this was the first Captain America.
It's probably where it was made, right? Probably the factory.
It could be where it was made.
Quality changes depending on if it's a
tell
European
difference,
factory or Chinese factory.
I mean, because that's the same mold, but sometimes the same mold even will have different marks on it, mold marks.
Well, here's
so there's slight changes in it.
So here's a ignorant question. There's more than one factory then that makes Lego.
The main factory's in Billund, Denmark.
Okay.
But they've got some in Czechoslovakia. Czech Republic,
Czechoslovakia, Mexico. They used to make them in the United States. There is one that you might be familiar with.
Yes, actually. This is definitely the Infinity War. I was just talking about this shield, which is interesting. The reason why it's this way is because very early on is where toy companies get involved with, so they can start making toys and get them out about the same time the movie happens. And I was part of the team to make the ones that he has in Infinity War. But the Wakanda shield, yep. But the one you see in the movie is actually, it's completely CGI'd on top of the shields that we made.
So he's holding a physical thing that they added to it?
Yeah, what they end up doing is they put bright fluorescent, usually orange dots on top of things, so it helps the animators sync up, I guess.
Oh, find it when it's moving and stuff. Yeah,
I'm sure he probably knows there's a lot of movement when he has that. There's a lot of kicking and biting and punching and such. So if you go and look at any behind the scenes stuff, you see the shields that I made, but then when you saw in the movies, it was like, oh. Like when I saw it in the first trailer, I was like,
that's not what I made. So you did make this. You handmade this.
I helped make that. We have a very talented metal worker, much better metal worker than I am. Between the two of us, and after months and months and months and months and months of meetings about, because it's a big deal to change Cap's shield. So there was quite a few meetings about it, and down to what color it was going to be, how big it's going to be, and even and whoever came up with the final artwork for it, what was based upon. I mean, I gotta give him full credit. He was very, very talented in what he did. So I just take what somebody gave. That was an instance I was given, here's a picture, this go make it look like this. Yeah, and I was lucky I had a 3D model, but that was one of the 3D models that it was not made by an engineer, so it had just had stuff free floating around, and you have to figure those problems out. And so yeah, it was a lot of work into it, and I learned a lot, which is what I always like about these projects. But then, and you go look at any behind the scenes shots and footage and stuff, you can see the ones that we made, and then get CGI.
What do you think of this Lego representation of it?
It's pretty close because the one we made, if you look at the behind the scenes, has 3 claws. They're literally designed Panther claws that protrude instead of the things that come out you see in the CGI version. They were just 3 claws, and so that's pretty darn close. Okay. About as close as you're gonna get, without making an actual real mold to it.
It's funny because that's just a kit bash.
Yeah, they've used that before, and I guess they didn't have the budget or didn't want to make it for one new piece.
Yeah,
that was Shredder's claw in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh wow, it's very ninja.
Prince of Persia as well. The Hassan from Prince of Persia had that.
The movie Prince of Persia or the
movie, the Disney movie?
Yeah,
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Jake Gyllenhaal in the Sands of Time.
Now, you had mentioned Peter Quill's hair and how good they did on it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's the same hair they used for Captain America.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Do you like that?
Yeah, that's pretty close. I'll give it. Yeah. And he's got the beard on there going on. He's rocking the beard. Little beard love. Envy, maybe. But no.
Beard love, envy. It's another metal song.
Yeah. Beard love and envy. Yes. We gotta write these down, so when we start our garage band.
That's right.
Now, talking about all things Wakandan, there's somebody you know and love.
Yes. Good old Chadwick Boseman. That's really... Oh, it's actually a separate piece to give him the cat ear. I was going to say kitty ears. That's okay. So this is the Black Panther before he gets, and that's the energy suit that he gets, right? Yeah, that's really cool. That again, I keep saying this over and over again, but
look how the printing goes to the next piece and it lines up.
Yeah, it does. There's a lot going on in here. There's a lot of paint work and such. And I'm on that's right. Yeah, look at that. The costume designs for Black Panther, not only in Civil War, but also in the movie Black Panther, phenomenal work. All the textures and pulling in African history into it, and it's just amazing. I can't remember. They did a phenomenal job.
And in the comic, it was pretty much just a black leotard, right?
It was, yeah. I mean, and we had various iterations of it where it actually looks like more of a panther head. I think at one point it was literally just like a Batman kind of thing. I may
Kind
be
of like Black Noir from The Boys.
Yes.
And then, of course, that's Killmonger. Looks very similar
it's Golden Jackal.
to
Jaguar.
the Black Panther minifigure-wise.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even down to here, it's got all these little dots and such going on.
And when I sell the Killmonger is a little cheaper than the Black Panther, quite a bit cheaper, actually, because he's not as popular.
Mm-hmm.
And parents will buy him for their
Thinking.
6-year-old,
Yeah.
knowing, not
Oh.
thinking. They're like, oh, I'll take the cheaper Black Panther. I'm like, well, that's actually Killmonger. I don't care.
That is totally a parent thing to do.
You know what a lot of kids do though is they bite the heads off to get the heads off because they don't have the dexterity yet in their hands. So in order to get the head off, they bite it off
And
they
swallow it.
They put
Oh,
they don't-
teeth marks and such.
Yeah, they put the teeth marks in it, so you get that with heads a lot. But yeah, some of them do swallow it, and that's why some of the heads will have holes in the top of the head going right through the head, so they're breathe holes.
Oh, and it'll get caught in your throat.
Hopefully it lands this way, not this way. Though.
Yes. They're like, you start choking, you're just like, here, like, turn that 90 degrees. I was seeing this across the table. That is a really cool helmet. That's a really cool piece. And
That's the Killmonger early costume.
Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger. Like, that phenomenal actor. Amazing villain. Still one of the top, I would say. These are great. These are really, really good. And that's obviously an original piece. The mask, too specific.
Now breaking back to Guardians of the Galaxy, this is one of my favorite minifigures that Lego makes. Is Ronan the Accuser.
Oh my gosh, there's so much paintwork on this. Man, I just popped that off. He's even got the cowl thing that,
which is unique to him.
Yes.
He's expensive. He's $30 to $40.
The paint job on his head. That was one of the comic book accurate things that they kept, because Ronan the Accuser actually has
Oh, really?
very, very similar.
There's certain things you don't mess with, no matter what, like Spider-Man's eyes.
Yeah.
There's just certain things you don't over movie eyes.
Right. That is technically the term movie eyes.
It is? I'm using professional.
Did you have anything to do with any of his?
I didn't work on the
props?
first Guardians. Yeah, the hammer is also spot on.
The
too.
hammer would have, and what's cool about that hammer, it's 3 very simple, basic Lego pieces.
Super common
you've
pieces.
got a bar, you've got a stud with 1x1 brick modified with stud on one side, and then you've got what we call cheese slope on top. And it makes a great hammer.
And they're in everything.
They use that for
Super
Lord of the
common.
Rings
That is cool.
hammers as well.
That you just call it a chase. Do each part have names? Like
Each part has a name, and then quite often they'll have a nickname. So the nickname is a cheese slope, because the real name is a slope 3/4, 1x1 slope 3/4, something like that.
something
So it
like
doesn't
that.
exactly roll off.
It doesn't at all.
The rock pieces are my favorite because they have a specific name, because they made several little rock pieces, but the big one they call the big ugly rock piece, or burp. And then there's the little ugly rock piece, lurp.
Lurp.
Yeah.
Burp and lurp.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Continuing on the Guardians theme,
They
we've
made
got
it thin.
Yondu, who is another actor that has been in both The Walking Dead and
Merle.
in the MCU, so
Yes.
he's seen around town a lot.
And his little yellow arrow. And
That fits into the top. That's how it has enough clutch power to actually.
yeah, that's impressive.
His mohawk is killer. That's a pretty unique piece.
Yeah, that's right, spot on, like the slope and everything.
Who is the most expensive Marvel figure?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, obviously it's going to be con exclusive. Probably, off the top of my head, the Toy Fair Captain America and Iron Man.
Deadpool.
Toy
The
Fair.
Comic-Con Deadpool.
The Comic-Con Deadpool's expensive, yeah. The Deadpool duck, and then they also made the Sheriff Deadpool.
Okay.
They're expensive. Any of the Comic-Con figures.
Excluding Comic-Con figures that you could just get at the store. In the resale market, who's really gone up?
The Guardians. The more unique Guardian figures, Mantis is up there. She's 40 to 60. Yondu is 40 to 60.
Wow.
There's quite a few that have really shot up in price.
Really?
Yeah.
And people for just collections and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That's one thing our store kind of caters to is the collector, the super collector. Like those heads he was talking about. When we get them with bite marks, we throw them away. Doesn't matter if it's from a $40 figure or not. We can't sell it. We sell stuff collector grade.
That is impressive. You mentioned Comic-Con once. Like what is considered expensive with the Comic-Con one? So if you like a standard figure like this, that's non-Comic-Con, you said 40, 60. What would a Comic-Con one go for?
At least 300, I would say. When they first come out, they're a little cheaper because people get them and they don't really care.
They just sell them right
They're
away.
just dumping it on eBay, and so you might get one for $150 to $250. And then it starts going up from there. Every year it gets harder to get. More exclusive. People find out about it. There's new collectors in the market. They gotta have it. Right now we have the Ps4 Spiderman, and he's $500, I think.
And the way you get it is so hard. You have to physically be at the con. You have to pay money, hotel, whatever, to be at the con. Then you have to win the raffle. You have to put your name in a hat and win the raffle to get that toy. And then if you win the raffle, you then have to pay for the toy. Now, it's not that much, but it's like, what, $10, $15 or not that much?
I don't know. They change it. They do change it every year. The last time I heard was actually this year was they did online drawings because there wasn't a physical con.
Yeah.
They didn't make the figures any cheaper.
Yeah.
And they're still very expensive.
Yeah.
But they did them at the last San Diego Comic-Con they had to wait in line. They got up to an iPad. They touched a button on the iPad and it said, you either win this figure, this figure, this figure, or you don't win anything at all. There was half of the people in line didn't win, but then the guy behind him might have won this figure, and he didn't want that figure. He wanted this figure, but it didn't matter. That's what you get, you know.
And the figures were part of something to do with that con.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So whatever's hot that year, whatever comes out that year it was. I think it was the year Deadpool Duck came out. And that was a very popular one. Or no, it could have been Sheriff Deadpool too. I can't remember. I did some research on Yondu, and his arrow is made out of yaka, which is a sound-sensitive metal.
Hence being able to whistle it.
It's native to the planet Centaur, and he is a Centaurian.
Yes, and he was also the first iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy, not the ones we know and love in the movies. Now, Yondu
the comic, he was in it.
He was also one that we're glad we didn't go with the comic book accurate version of him because he had a bow and basically just a vest and like a Tarzan piece. That's pretty much it, I think, if I remember correctly. So I'm glad they went with the Ravager outfit because Micah Rooker and that would probably not be the best thing to go.
What a cool weapon to have.
Yeah, it's so unique.
You know, a lot of the weapons in the Marvel Universe and in any good storylines like Star Wars, they have backstories, the weapons themselves do. And then there's other weapons that have no backstory at all, such as Drax's knives. Drax's knives,
There's nothing.
they were really cool looking curved blades. No backstory.
They're just
He opens letters with them.
Yes.
They made 4 different Hawkeyes, I believe. They only gave him a quiver in the most recent one, which was the Quantum Realm suit. How does that bow and quiver look?
I'm assuming this is probably another kit bash, but it's pretty close. It looks like a compound bow, so it was probably not your knights, and archers and stuff like that. But it's, it's pretty close. And as for the quiver, I think that's I remember that from the 80s, this version of the quiver.
Was that a new piece for him? The compound
Believe
bow?
it or not, I think it was a new piece for him. It was
Really?
not a kit patch. Now, they have used it since. They used it on the Katniss Hunger Games CMF figure, and they also gave it to Green Arrow. But he was the first one to have it, this version right here in 2012.
There was a
from
Hunger
the
Games
first
CMF?
Avengers.
Which one are you referring to?
She looked like Katniss from the Hunger Games.
What's the CMF?
Collectible, the blind bags, the collectible...
Yeah.
collectible minifigures is what it stands for. We're using the lingo,
Yeah,
so we gotta catch it.
Yes. Get a noob over here. That's impressive. Even kind of like very close to the haircut that he had.
They blonde him up in the first one a little bit.
I'm not quite sure. That was Battle of New York set. This looks like, what is that, Ultron?
I think that might be a comic version.
Because of the goggles and such.
I'm trying to remember.
Detail on this.
Could be Age of Ultron now.
When did they start going to two different prints on the head?
That's a good question. I can't answer.
They've been doing that for a while.
The sets I remember was just the two dots and the smiley.
Yeah.
And call it a day.
You know, it's really good for people who do stop motion because you can
Switch it,
just
make
keep
them
switching
talk.
the head around and make it
Oh,
talk.
yeah. Is that how they did Lego Movie? They just kept twisting the head back and forth?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, digitally, but
Yes, yeah.
And then this is Doctor Strange is a very expensive minifigure. They made 2 or 3 of him, and he's $20 to $30. Detailed, very detailed.
Very, very detailed. Even the white and the hair, cape with the upper part. That's the technical term, right?
opera
And-
collar, I think is what
Yes.
that's called.
What is
Opera
it?
collar?
Opera. I think they like Dracula's cape is it's the opera collar. I don't know why it's an opera collar, but that it is. I guess the sound.
So when you fall
when you-
asleep, it gets.
I thought it was
it's a
'cause
little
so-
bit of a headrest.
the sound is cupped around your head.
I think it's because when you turn directly to the right, you can only see half your face, so it's not Phantom of the Opera style.
That's it.
Yes. In the Eye of Agamotto on there, so. Looks more comic book-esque than the
Which Infinity Stone was in the Eye of
Time Stone.
Amagado?
Oh my god, avocado.
Avocado.
Yes. It was a pain to open, and you always get the pit in there.
That was the green one.
Yes.
Yeah, Time
Yes.
Stone.
Yeah, it was.
It was the eye of
The Eye of
avocado.
Avocado.
Yeah, Eye of Agamotto in there.
Did you ever get to see Benedict Cumberbatch? He's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I saw him in passing a couple times. At least on my part, not a tremendous interaction. Usually, it's like walking by and going.
But
from
occasionally you have to fit props on people, so you'll have to go. talk to
sometimes
the
that's
actor,
usually.
actress.
Actually, I haven't done that for a year now because of the whole COVID thing. I haven't actually gone to set this since being back because I just don't want to have to deal with that nightmare. It's more of like, and when I say nightmare, it's like constant COVID testing. I understand about they're very, very on top of that. I have not been on set, and I probably won't for a long time, which is fine. And I just meet up at the gate, drop off, and go.
Pre-COVID, was there a meeting of an actor, a fitting on a prop that you remember specifically, or have a story about that you're allowed to tell?
Not exactly fitting on the actual person themselves. When we were trying to size up Stormbreaker, because it's really expensive to like fully 3D print one of those things. So we do the next best thing, you make cardboard cutouts that look like it. I'm the closest in height to him on the team, because most people aren't above the 6 foot range. And so I had to stand in for a couple meetings to make that decision of how tall to make it. I had to duck slightly to get about his height. And that was an opportunity to kind of say hi to a couple people, Kevin Feige and stuff like that. It was one of those surreal moments. I'm sitting in this meeting room and there's like Kevin Feige and all these other producers you see on every film. And I'm like, I'm here, I'm with these people. And
Holding a cardboard
Did you know you were going to do that? Did you dress appropriately?
No, I did not know I was going to be doing that. When working on things, you get dirty, so I don't exactly wear my Sunday best. I happened to be walking by, and one of the team came by in a golf cart, and they're like, "You're tall, let's go." I'm like, "Oh, okay, let's go." And so I hopped in, we drove over, and kind of gave me the briefing. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I walk in, and I see of all these people, and here I am in bum and clothes. I mean, it was jeans and t-shirt or whatever. Yeah, not exactly the attire you want to go. Like everyone else is dressed fairly nicely, polo shirts and whatever the case may be, and grungy face over here. And so that was an interesting time to an event. So I have my work clothes and I keep a nice set in the car just in case.
Oh, okay.
Just in case. I learned my lesson from there. So the only autograph I actually really tried to pursue was Stan Lee. So I carried with me for years an Avengers shirt that I bought and a Sharpie. I was like, I kept it in my bag.
One day.
One day it's gonna happen, but it never did. Never
I
happened.
thought you were going to tell us.
Yeah, I know. It's
one day.
We'll have to cut that. We can't have sad stories.
No, I'm sorry, but no, it's like just one of those things.
You don't seem like someone who gets starstruck. But even in the beginning when you first started, was there someone that you felt like or not?
The first person that I met out of all of this was Robert Downey. And that was the first 2 weeks of doing this. And in my head, you have this speech prepared, and you're like, Yes, Robert Downey Jr. I'm so tender. I don't know why my voice got lower, but it's you have this whole speech in mind that you're gonna give, and when I got introduced to him, and I was like, I'm shaking his hand, and he's like, and the best I got was, you're cool. It was like
he's German.
Yes, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's still learning to speak. Yeah. But I eventually was able to get some sort of conversation out of there. Like, I can't believe I'm standing here next to Robert Downey. It's like, I'm not, I've been so blessed to be able to do that. They jokingly say, it's not this way, but they jokingly say it's like wild animals. You don't approach them. They approach you kind of thing. And I like to respect that. I want to respect their boundaries. And it's never been officially stated that you don't go up like, hey, can I be autographed?
Well, otherwise they get inundated constantly.
So
with fanboys and stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's just a constant overall respect for
yes, absolutely.
And maintaining that respect. I can say I've never, besides naming, I've never actually tried to go. And they're just people. At the end of the day, and they're super nice people. One of the main questions I get asked is who's mean or who's awful to work with. That's one of the first questions I get. I'm like, that's very negative. You're definitely the best person. Absolutely,
he's such a drama queen.
Diva. I'm flipping tables.
Yes.
He's at the Lego store throwing bricks.
Yes. It'd be really tempting with nobody's looking, like a customer going, and then go busy back to work.
Put in the back of your head.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Yet. No.
Yet. We have people that travel all over the country to come to our store.
It's very impressive.
It's like a Lego mecca, you know? And I always try to tell people it's a lot of pressure when people come to our store, and sometimes they get a hotel room and they'll stay the night and come back the next day.
Again,
And it's a lot of them are like kids' birthday presents. That's all they want for their birthdays, to go to Atlanta Brick and so they'll travel 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Wow.
20 hours to come to the store. So I'm always telling them, we'll go to downtown Sonoy where they film The Walking Dead, go over here where they film Stranger Things, and then go check out Pinewood Studios because they have like a cafe where you can eat lunch.
Hanna Brothers and stuff.
Hanna Brothers Cafe.
Formerly Pinewood.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, it's formerly Pinewood.
That's one of the questions. Yeah, they just changed the name of the studio, right?
I think it's Trillion or Trillion. It doesn't roll off the tongue as well, but
okay. I think somebody bought in or they sold the studio or something like that. Is there anything else? Is there like a tour people can do at the studio that you know of, or
not now? At least not always filming a scene in a building. Sometimes it's in between the buildings. Sometimes they build the set right into the building, so you could walk by and see something pivotal. So I don't think so that you can go into where the building is that was a school at one point that was originally designed to be a school. You can go in I think you can go over there. I'm not really exactly sure. I actually never eaten at Hanna Brothers.
Another thing about people coming to the store, it is, and for the adults more than the kids, it is kind of like a Lego museum because we have some really old sets.
The spaceship one.
The spaceship one and all the old castle sets and stuff that people have not seen since their childhood. So they walk in and you see their inner child just come out. It makes me feel so good when they walk around like, they have this and this, I had that. And then we have everything up to brand new stuff almost.
Your inventory is solely trade-ins? And
No,
or do you buy sets from...
We buy.
Okay.
So tomorrow morning we have 4 pallets of Lego being delivered to the store, brand new bricks. 2 weeks ago, I went and picked up a collection from a longtime customer that was ready to part with it. Biggest haul ever.
Yes.
And,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
took me 7 hours to disassemble his city that he had built. Took me 7 hours to disassemble everything and get it. And then an hour up there, hour back, and 3 trips.
Goodness.
To get the whole thing back to the store. Trade-ins probably account for 20%.
Yeah, every time I watch your videos and such, it's like, not only do I look at the content of what you're working, but also in the background of what, like your totes, I noticed. And when you did the train ride through the store, that gave me a really good glimpse of a lot of the stuff, that, at least on the bottom shelf, you know.
Well, you don't get to see, you're so tall, you never get to see stuff.
Yeah, actually, that's why it hit me, so that's why it resonated so well. That is one of my favorite videos that you guys did. That was brilliant, with putting on the GoPro on the train.
That was his idea.
Brilliant. Oh my god. Or was it a GoPro or was it a phone?
We did a phone and a GoPro.
Yeah.
It actually, it was just my idea, and that's it. I didn't do anything else. Justin did all the rest, and Mark, and it was not as easy as it looked.
Moving on, let's finish up the Marvel. We almost have everyone.
I think we did it. There's okay, all right. Black Widow, that's it. Last one, Black Widow.
This isn't even all of them, right?
There might be one more.
That's Age of Ultron because the suit light lit up, I would think. This is obviously Infinity War because her hair is blonde. This is probably one of the Iron Mans or Avengers or Battle of New York.
The Battle of New York.
Yeah.
That's actually the most expensive one, too. She only came in a big Quinjet set. I think she's $30 or $40.
Wow. Different hair every time except for this one, it's red.
I really like that. I mean, she's a girl. She changes up her hairstyles. It's cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I wonder.
And she's a spy too, so makes sense
And
to change her
yeah,
look.
exactly.
Well, that's
look all the time.
That's why it was blonde in Infinity War because they were in hiding and had to hide themselves. So she cut it and made it blonde.
Now her name is Black Widow, so you'd think she'd have black hair. But
Yeah. Yeah.
But her name is Scarlett Johansson, so she has scarlet hair.
Yes.
So I guess that's why.
Those are impressive. I will say, with all these minifigures we've gone through, I just am stunned with how detailed they are.
Did we bring a Thanos? I want to show him Thanos.
We do, yeah. We do have one Thanos.
It's a big thing. They
He
call
was a used one that we grabbed. Somebody tried to kit bash him and turn him into something else.
We won't do a close-up of it.
Well, now I'm just going to judge it.
Yeah.
This is very similar to the Hulk that you did the copies of or whatever. But he looks the appropriately Mad Titan in this. So,
and they've made 3 or 4 different versions of the big Thanos now, and 2 versions at least of the small
minifigure. How's that scale?
Well, Thanos is 8.5 feet tall, so
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, how did they do that on set? They actually had someone walk around with a stick.
Holding
up.
Well, no, they actually had an 8.5 foot tall man. The way they did that is the way they did in Age of Ultron with James Spader's character of Ultron. Is it's a vest with a pole, and Age of Ultron is like a red tennis ball or red ball. This was they cut out the head of whatever the character was, and so you'd see a rack of all these vests with varying different pipes heights with all these different faces on them and stuff and like that. And
I'm always curious, do they choose neutral faces, or is he like screaming or smiling, giving the double thumbs up?
I'm thinking it's finger guns is what
I want to see Thanos do that.
I'm assuming it's probably the concept art, and it's probably just a blank stare. It's the awkward one.
The Mad Titan, I can see your soul.
So I think the Hulk one had like a brow, I think, and it makes it so the actors have eye lines, so they have something up to look at. Because if you're looking at the human and their eyes are technically up here, and you're going to look at the human's eyes, the stunt person or whoever, or Josh Brolin, you're going to look at him, and it's like you got to look up at the.
Who reads the lines for them on set to interact? Is
Brolin
it just? Oh, he was on set.
Oh yeah, he was there, and he wore the suit, and it's super creepy. When I say creepy, it's like I had this memory of one of the times I had to go to set, and they were filming, and you could hear him, and it was just like it's dead quiet, but you can. It's this I think it was one of the scenes where Thanos is talking to Gamora, and just to hear Josh Brolin in person say it, like it's chills. It was a phenomenal actor. I mean, he's extremely talented, and he actually had his own size gauntlet that he wore during filming and stuff like that.
But he didn't do the makeup; it was just costume.
No, he probably had he had the CGI suits on, I believe.
Oh, okay.
It would make sense because
they actually made a human-sized gauntlet so he could kind of move and feel.
I think that's called method acting or something like that. So there was the gigantic one, which you can see being passed to Brolin when he announced that he was becoming Thanos, and then there was a smaller, we call Brolin size one. That's the one he wore and walked around with and did his thing as Thanos.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show, visiting our location, and letting us drink in your knowledge.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Sip was probably the one.
Not enough to go around,
Yeah.
or we're just not ready for it.
Well, no,
We're
it's
not
just
ready
you,
for it.
we get one sip and everybody gets the work. So, but, I appreciate you asking me to come on, and
Absolutely.
I can get starstruck because I watch your videos every week, multiple ones. You're like, stop, but continue.
I'll sign something for you.
I don't know if Justin told you, but he had a kid come in the store the other day, and
Yes.
the kid was like, "Is Justin there?" We were like, "Yeah, we'll go get him." And we went and got Justin, and he got his picture taken, his autograph.
Really?
And he came down from far away, right?
Yeah.
Virginia?
Something like that, yeah.
I think it was Virginia.
Wow.
And he wanted to see Justin.
Wow.
So
When are you getting a minifigure then?
That's what
Justin asked him what his favorite theme was. It was Castle, and what do you want to see a video on? And he said Castle, so Justin went right to work and got a Castle video done
Nice.
for him. Yeah.
That's
And
cool.
gave him a shout out.
Yep. Speaking of shout out, don't forget we are available as a podcast if you actually want to listen to this. This was like most of our episodes, it was more visual. And Seth did regale us with much insider knowledge, and as much as he was allowed to anyway. Let us know in the comments what you want to hear next, what you want to see next. Someone specifically mentioned, I'm sorry, I did not look up the name to get the name exactly, but someone did mention Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Harry Potter's coming.
We gotta find the right experts and find the time. Harry Potter has been going on for so long. That would be a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
And we want to do it right.
And more Star Wars, I think somebody said.
Yeah, more Star. Again, that's another theme. Star Wars was the first licensed Lego theme, and Harry Potter was shortly after that. That would be a big project, so we just want to do it right. But we will do it. Let us know in the comments what else you want to see, and it doesn't have to be necessarily themes. It could be something else about our store, our story, or anything else. Let us know, and we might surprise you with cool things like this guy.
Oh, me.
Yes,
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you very much, and we will see you guys later.
See you.
Bye.